Anna. They've got a couple of questions for us. You go first. Tell us a bit about your background, your business, and your antecedents.
Okay, so I was a detective on major crime with Essex Police.
Wow.
A job that I absolutely loved. But after having my second child, I just couldn't manage the hours, and it was just very reactive. I would never know what time I'd get off from work each day, so it was just too stressful to manage with juggling two young children. So reluctantly I left, but I decided to restudy nutritional therapy. So it was a 3.5-year course that I studied, did the final year during lockdown, and then qualified and set up my business on the 1st of March 2021, so almost 4 years to the day. And I'm now a qualified nutritional therapist, and I specialise in supporting shift workers, mainly because of the lifestyle that I saw in policing, where we just accept the whole culture that we live on junk food, and nobody really questions it or addresses it or does anything about it. But I've learned when I was studying nutrition science that the fallout of that is driving burnout and a whole host of chronic health conditions amongst the shift working community, of which there are 8.5 million in the UK alone. So it's a whole kind of almost like an unseen population of workers.
God, Anna, you're like a lesson in dynamism. Like, I'm a huge fan of true crime, and so I'll have like a billion questions for you right after this. Well, my background is a little different. I have a long antecedents in media. Spent about 16 years working. I just had the good fortune of working with some of the most recognizable, media brands, from Warner Bros. Discovery to Viacom. I've worked with MultiChoice, which is Africa's really, it's our equivalent of ITV. Right? And in that time, I got to get the skills to build what became a decently successful production company. However, my current enterprise is in edtech and in lifelong learning, and that is a totally different animal. And the thing that I have learned from the process is how humbling it is, really. Because coming off of the back of building a business in media, you think, oh, I can do this again. You learn very fast that actually there's more to anything new that you start. The next thing we're being asked here is, how did we get involved in SWEN? I'll go first. So I moved to Guildford, and in trying to build this new business, I was trying to do what I always do, which is research. And in the process of researching, I just thought, there has to be some place where you go to build some kind of business skills, to better understand the market, to get the right data set, which was what I was struggling with. And I ran into this person who said to me, oh my God, you have to meet this woman. Her name is Katmark, and she's doing this amazing work, and she's really supported women, And at the time, I got invited by this person who introduced me to Kat, who introduced me to SWEN, and the rest they say is history.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
and
so interesting.
What's your SWEN story?
So I approached Surrey Research Park because I'm also based now in Guildford, and I was just looking for sort of local collaborations and supporting local businesses. And I thought there must be some organisations on the Research Park that are 24/7, also might have night shift workers that might do some support. But whilst I was looking into that, I came across SWEN as well, and attended their 1-year anniversary conference back in the end of last year, which was full of inspiring stories from different women entrepreneurs. And I just thought, I just would love to get to know this network of women a bit more closely.
Great. I will hand over the questions to
you. Okay. So, so when did you start this new business? Because we both obviously changed careers quite dramatically to try new careers, which isn't difficult, which is difficult. But what inspired you to pursue this new entrepreneurial path?
Right. So, whilst I worked in media production, I got into something called impact producing. Impact producing is storytelling with social change in mind. So how do you tell narratives that can play a role in driving community engagement and getting people to sort of move to just sort of have some kind of social mobility, increasing their incomes, but purely through storytelling that helps them, to give them information that helps them to take action, that helps them. Oh my God, it's too complex. Okay, so I'll double back. So whilst working in media, I ended up going into something called impact producing. Impact producing is where you use stories to drive social change. So when you create narratives, when you tell stories or make films or campaigns or whatnot, you target communities with narratives and then embed in those stories actions that they can take that can help them move upwardly socially and are able to increase their incomes or even just drive social change, whether it's in politics or in other aspects of life. And so for me, education and reading and lifelong learning is something I've always been interested in. The one way that I know how to do anything is to learn anecdotally. So I just thought if everybody has the chance to be able to learn without having to pay an arm and a leg, that would be great. And so I look at the existing models, the master classes, the Udemy's, and it's great. And I've used them quite a bit, but to some degree, it is elitist. So if you think about it, the cost, the access to data, especially if you're talking emerging markets. And so I said, I need to build something that takes learning to people in rural, peri-urban, and minority marginalized communities in a way that does not necessarily cost as much. And that's how I happened into that. But that be a service that also caters to people who just enjoy learning. And so there are 2 tiers to the service, and I said, okay, I'm going to build this thing. And I wanted to be in an environment that has had success in building models like that. And I thought being in England would be a great way to build a business that truly goes global and also serves emerging markets.
Wow, it sounds really valuable what you're doing.
Yeah, and tough.
Yes.
and like I said, it's been a humbling process because if you've had any degree of success or beginner's luck in building something the first time, you tend to walk into a second enterprise thinking, oh, I've done this before, I'm just going to knock this out the park. You're going to learn. So what's next for Anna?
What's next? So rather than putting all my eggs into the one policing basket, I've decided that I needed to spread my wings a little bit, partly from feeling a bit vulnerable with the sort of partly from just being very reliant on the public spending purse with working in policing. So I've been approaching other shift working sectors, and I've had a lot of fun working with some bus companies, with bus drivers, looking at their kind of diet and culture and doing some education with some bus drivers. And that's been really exciting. So I'm trying to sort of grow in the transport area, looking specifically at the health and safety aspect of food choices, because a lot of bus drivers were saying they can get quite sleepy when they're at work if they've had certain types of lunches. And so I've been coaching them about different food choices to make for lunch that isn't going to make them sleepy behind the wheel of a bus. And on the back of that, I joined the Parliamentary Advisory Council on Transport Safety. And I'm going to a meeting next month at the House of Commons to talk about road user behaviour and to get people considering food choices when they are driving long distances and about the sort of the safety aspect. So that's what's next.
You have an exciting road ahead of you. I can't wait to see what you do with all of that. That's a lot. I'm so proud of the work you're doing.
Thank you.
I, on the other hand, so there's an intersection between emerging media, immersive media, and the future of how we consume content and learn, right? And so for me, my current foray is heavily invested in understanding that nexus, right? And so virtual production, immersive mediums of consuming content is something that I'm currently working heavily on, and spending time with a company in the US, just, opening those inroads and trying to understand how we can integrate it into how we put out our content and how we even connect to new audiences going forward.
And so is your target audience, are they people that could be business owners? Is it looking at upskilling from a business skills point of view? Or
Right, so ultimately it's going to then move not just from the technology software that's available to people to use online, but an actual park where we have an immersive studio space where people can come and create immersive content, and we have immersive spaces that can be used as museums. It's a bit of an infrastructure project, and I'm trying not to, it's a full-on animal on its own, but the impact that it's going to have on learning and consuming content is something that's going to touch on everybody. So to your question, it's going to serve businesses, and the outcome of how it serves businesses will serve audiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Delmwa, that's really exciting.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Right, one more question, and Anna, I'll let
here we
you
go.
take it away.
So, Delmwa, if you were writing a book about your entrepreneurial journey, what would you call it?
Now that I think about it, and this is a journey that I'm currently on. When I think about the work and the impacts that I'm looking to have, it cuts across 2 continents. So I have this entire life in media that is still an integral part of who I am and what I do and where I'm headed. And with immersive media and virtual production being a core of something that we currently are building, especially in Africa, to bridge the infrastructure gaps and whatnot. And then the work that I'm doing here in EdTech and lifelong learning, which is a pure passion project that happens to be something that is a business that will make money. I find that it feels like a project in bridging worlds, right? So I would say that book would be something around bridging worlds, how learnings from Africa can sort of help prosperity globally. I don't know, something like that.
Like it.
I would have to have a rethink about it, but really the nature of the work that I do has a profound impact in emerging markets, and the future of lifelong learning is global. So here in the UK as well, and so bridging the worlds, 2 continents, and driving impact on both.
Fantastic, I love that. That's great.
Right. So what about you?
So I've toyed with a kind of an ebook, but actually I'd want it to be more focused on the nutrition tips for shift workers rather than talking about my journey. And I know that I'm not patient enough to sit down and write a book. I can't sit still for that long, so it's very hypothetical. I guess, I've thought about this a little bit. I think that it would be something like fueling the front line.
Wow.
But then if I wanted to also bring in the sort of shift work element to it, so the circadian rhythm balancing part, then maybe something to do with time, so maybe thinking about like clockwise, something with clockwise in the title maybe.
Fueling the front line sounds brilliant, and you can have the something that has the clockwise element to it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. I'll be waiting to read it.
If you're a woman entrepreneur, a woman mentor or investor, or you'd like to join us to encourage more women into these roles, please find the Surrey Women's Entrepreneurship Network on LinkedIn.